皆様、ご機嫌うるわしゅう。ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式ナビゲーターのバーチャルドールただきゆかです。日本初の VR 映画に特化した国際映画祭ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルは2月12日金曜日から21日日曜日まで10日間にわたって開催中です。オンライン会場で国内外から厳選した VR 映画を配信しているのに加えて、ほぼ毎晩トークイベントを行い、Zoom でのライブ配信と YouTube でのアーカイブ配信をしています。最終日21日日曜日のアワードセレモニーでは、配信作品の中から3作品にアワードが授与されるほか、審査員の園しおんさん、大宮エリーさん、福田敦さん、さらにアンバサダーのコムアイさんもご登場。もちろん僕も参加します。映画祭について詳しくはビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルの公式サイトをチェックしてくださいね。またこのライブ配信では日本語と英語の通訳が利用できます。画面右下の通訳ボタンを押して日本語か英語の通訳を選択してください。それではお待たせいたしました。今夜のイベントは映画祭の未来形を探る世界の映画祭が VR に注ぐ熱視線と題して、ベネチア国際映画祭ベニス VR キュレーターでCreativeXR エグゼクティブプロデューサーのリズ・ロゼンタールさん、高尾映画祭 XR キュレーターのグレース・リーさん、トライベッカ映画祭イマーシブプログラミングバイスプレジデント&シニアプログラマーのローレン・ハモンズさんがご登壇。モデレーターは東京国際映画祭シニアプログラマーの矢田部義彦さんが務めます。矢田部さん、よろしくお願いします。
はい、こんばんは。Hello, good evening and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Film Festival. We have tonight talk event number 6 titled Explore the Future of Film Festivals, Why Film Festivals are around the world are paying close attention to VR. I am the moderator of the talk show tonight. My name is Yoshi Yatabe. I'm a senior programmer of the Tokyo International Film Festival. We will have a discussion, a panel discussion with a wonderful guest tonight. And we'll talk about the position of the VR in film festival and the vision, the future vision. Let me introduce a bit about myself. I am the senior programmer for Tokyo Film Festival, which is organized usually end of October, early November every year. But I am a programmer for feature film, conventional film studies. I have very limited knowledge about VR. My experience is also very limited, but I'd like to learn a lot through this talk session. And so please forgive me if I ask too many primitive or ignorant questions. But I'm kind of representing the light user and very old school. So I'm a fan of conservative, conventional film. So I'm really looking forward to know more about So let me introduce our wonderful panelists tonight. First, Miss Liz Rosenthal. Welcome.
Hello.
Ms. Rosenthal, she's a curator, Venice International Film Festival, and executive producer, CreativeXR.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Liz, how are you?
I'm very well. I'm really happy to be part of this panel and very excited that there is this wonderful new festival in Japan. So congratulations to the organizers.
Yes, hi. Let me adjust, please, the translation button because, right, okay. Sorry. Okay, Liz, I'm really looking forward to talk to you about VR, and please be my mentor tonight.
Thank you. I would be honored.
Okay, the next panelist is Miss Grace Lee, curator of Kaohsiung Film Festival XR. Grace, can you turn your video on, please?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but can't see you. Yes, you. Hi, Grace.
Can you hear me now? Hi.
Yes, I can hear and see you. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm very good.
It's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to knowing about how VR is doing in your country, in your region, in your festival.
Of course. Well, thank you very much to having me today. It's very exciting to join this panel, and also with my two curators that I admire a lot in the industry, Liz and Loren. So I can wait.
Thank you. And our third panelist is Mr. Loren Hammonds, Vice President of Immersive Programming and Senior Programmer of Tribeca Film Festival. Hello, Loren.
Hi, Yoshi. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning. I think it's very early in the morning in Europe, right?
It's about 6 a.m. in New York City right now, bright and early. The sun has not come up yet, so it's still dark outside.
Oh, really? And I believe you are in the middle of the selection for your own festival?
This is true. Our festival is in June this year, so it's right in the middle of choosing everything. Very exciting times.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us in the very busy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very looking forward to talking to you tonight. Before asking you guys to make a short presentation of your festivals and events, I would please allow me to speak a little bit about what I am interested in through our talk session tonight, because I've measured two things. First is that I have a very limited knowledge about VR, and for people like me, I tend to think that VR is rather more a form of a new art, a kind of installation art that we can see in modern art museum rather than a cinema. And people who know about VR know a lot about VR, but people who don't know about VR don't know anything about VR. And it's very interesting for me to have VR in a film festival, because there's a huge, I think you have a gap between these two groups, and the film festival can link this gap between these two groups. But so I'm interested in what is the importance or the meaning to have VR section in a film festival? Is it you think that VR is a part of film, or maybe you have some other ideas? This is one of my interests. And the second is, of course, about the current situation of the pandemic situation, where we can't stop thinking about the future of film theaters, and maybe the experience of watching film in a big screen with many audience, this culture will end sooner or later, and the experience of watching film in person on your own, maybe with VR, will become mainstream. I'd like to know what you think about this. But anyway, now I'd like to, this will be maybe my questions later, but let's start the presentation of your festivals. Liz, can you please start?
Sure thing. Let me just share my screen. Great. So hi, I'm going to say a few words about Venice Film Festival and show you a few pictures. So as Yoshi said, I'm the curator of Venice International Film Festival's immersive content section, Venice VR. So we have been running the section since 2016. I launched it with my colleague, Michel Réac. You can see his picture on the right-hand side in our venue, which I'm going to talk to you about in a bit. So the Biennale is the organization that runs the film festival, and it's one of the most important cultural organizations in the world. It runs the Art Biennale and the Architecture Biennale every other year, and many other different types of Biennale in the city. So it's very interesting that the Biennale has got very behind virtual reality, because they cover as an organization all types of art forms, and they thought it was really important that they were presenting VR as an art form. So the festival is involved in virtual reality in 3 different ways. There's Venice VR, which is the official competition and selection of immersive content that happens at the Venice Film Festival every year, which is in September. It's the oldest film festival in the world, so it's a big significance that we're covering VR big time. The other way that we are involved with VR is the Biennale Vr College. So we help develop 10 to 12 projects every year in the college, and one of them goes on to get financed and is presented that year in the film festival. And the third thing that we do is we have an industry section, the Venice Production Bridge, which is a market. And so we select 25 projects in development, and we introduce them to potential financiers and distributors and partners around the world. So Venice, as I said, is an old film festival. It's over 100 years old. Oh, it's not 100 years old. That's me exaggerating. We're going to be in our 77th year. I'm looking way into the future here, but I hope there's going to be a 100th year. So the oldest film festival in the world is embracing VR as a fully fledged art form. And what's important about the festival, and the fact that the section is part of the official program. So virtual reality and immersive content projects are treated in exactly the same way as films. Therefore, they are in the program, they have their red carpet moment, and we have awards that are exactly in the same level as film awards. And we like to choose a celebrated jury every year to select those 3 awards. So in 2019, Laurie Anderson, the famous multimedia artist and musician, was the president of our jury. And last year, we had the honor of having Hideo Kojima, who was part of our jury, alongside Asif Kapadia, who's an Oscar-winning documentary film director, and Céline Tricard, who's a leading VR artist, who won our grand jury prize the year before. She was our president. And what's really important for us is we felt that VR and XR is often relegated to something, a sidebar in a festival, or it's treated very much as R&D, so research and development, or experimental, or it's just put in a market, like in a trade fair part of the festival. And it was really important for us to try and really push the boundaries of what it means to exhibit VR as a fully fledged art form. And so the way that we exhibit the works is really important for us, that it's a very beautiful experience. We have the Biennale team who build beautiful exhibitions for art and architecture. They usually help build in our location. A really fantastic exhibition, the ticketing, we try and make sure there are no queues and no noise, and we're trying to overcome the issues of exhibiting VR, which are probably some of your questions, Yoshi. So we've been very lucky that we were, the Biennale found an incredible venue, which is called the Lazaretto Vecchio. You can see pictures. It's in Ireland, and ironically, it was a plague quarantine island in Venice, because Venice suffered the plague for many centuries, and our venue hadn't been used for 300 years. Wow. And it was the first time it was open to the public. Wow. So you can see it's pretty spectacular. It's just 50 meters off the edge of the Lido, where the main film festival area is, and we have our own boat, you can see in the picture. So in Venice VR, what's really important is that we're trying to exhibit all forms of what this new art and entertainment form is. So we show things, and I know we'll talk a bit about what this is, what immersive content, or I should say XR, because that covers the whole range of immersive content is. So we show things from 360 video to interactive projects that you might be able to find online afterwards in the VR storefronts, to very complex installations with real actors and sets. And so these are some pictures from our last in real life exhibition, which was in 2019, where we had 39 projects in the selection. So last year we had to go entirely virtual in the VR section. The film festival was one of the lucky film festivals that was, because it was in September, it could happen in real life because there was a hiatus with the pandemic. But we had to go entirely virtual, and it was a very interesting experience for us because so much work building virtual festivals, and we tried to make it as sumptuous and fantastical as possible. So we built a very sophisticated VR chat world where you could socialize and feel like you were in a festival. And then we exhibited the 44 projects that we chose on a variety of different platforms. And we were able to do this because of our partnerships with Viveport, who showed the projects, the PC VR projects that could be on their platform, with Oculus, who showed the projects that are on Quest. And then we worked with a few other platforms. And our beautiful world was designed by a company called Vroom, and we worked in partnership with VR Chat as well. So you can see for the festival in the virtual world, you would arrive by gondola. The gondola would take you to a fantastical version of our real Ireland, where you could preview all the projects. You can see in the middle picture where you'll go into these different rooms, and they would have a preview world of each project. We also had this social space, which is called the garden. We have this beautiful garden in the middle of the island where people gather, where the whole VR community gathers. And we wanted to create something that was really fun, where people could, we could have directors' talks and parties and meetups. And we had this fantastic party space where you took a mountain gondola and went up to an observatory where we had our opening and closing night parties. So what was, it was a real challenge doing a virtual festival because we wanted to show the whole range of projects. Obviously, we couldn't show the physical, installations. But what was interesting is we have seen, and I think all of us as programmers have seen, this acceleration of new art forms because of the pandemic. And I think virtual reality is in a very interesting place because we are innovators, the people working in VR move very fast. And so we've seen some really fantastic new work. And the thing that I think Michelle and I were particularly excited about were the projects that were real life immersive theatre performances, or projects that take place in a virtual world, where you can be as an actor or participant together in this fantastical world. So these are the 3 prize winners of our 3 awards. And an example of that was a project called Finding Pandora X, which was live immersive theatre in this really fun world where it was a reworking of the myth, the Greek myth of Pandora. And at the end, you learned how to fly. Flying was a very important mechanism, so super fun. 2 other projects, the one that won our grand jury prize was a very beautiful animation by Yuri and Michelle Crano called The Hangman at Home. And just an example of another project which won our storytelling prize was Killing a Superstar, a Chinese project that was shot live action, that has a very interesting mechanic where you can adjust the timeline because it's a murder mystery and you can find out who is planning to murder the star by moving around the timeline. So those are just some examples of the festival. We also, the thing that was a lot of work as well, but we thought was very important, was to be able to show the work in real venues around the world because of the pandemic. And so we had a network of 15 high-end cultural institutions stretching from Taiwan to Portland, Oregon, where they showed our program in their venues. So the venues that were able to open at that time. And we really for next year, we're scoping out what we're doing because it's September. So we'll definitely be doing the virtual version, and we'll expand on what we learned, expand on our satellite network, and hopefully be able to do some kind of physical event as well. So submission deadline is 31st of May. We've had some amazing Japanese projects in the past. We love the projects that come from Japan and in your part of the world, because they're so highly crafted. So we've shown projects by the team behind the festival, so your festival, Beyond the Frame, so Beat and Feathers. And we've also shown some other Japanese projects, Tales of the Wedding Ring, which is a more sort of designed by the game studio Square Enix in Japan. And also Ghost in the Shell. We've shown both episodes of that project. And also in 2019, a work by Japanese artists that was in partnership with HTC Vive, which Miwa Komatsu in Nori. So please do get in contact with us. We love to see more projects from Japan. And thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Liz. It was so amazing. Well, for Tokyo International Film Festival, we don't have a VR section yet, which is a shame. But I wonder how we can be the satellite stage in October during the festival for the Venice presentation. And well, I have some questions. You said so that the section you started in 2016, right? And so since Venice is part of Biennale, and well, what I understood from your presentation is that the argument to talk whether VR is a film or not doesn't really matter as long as we treat VR as a new form of art. So to include that section in Venice was a very obvious choice, right?
Yes and no, because but because the film festival shows films, it was still like it's interesting, this question of showing immersive content projects in a film festival, and it's a big challenge because you have to invent completely new ways that have nothing to do with film exhibition. And we're so happy that the Biennale got behind it in a really big way. But for us, I feel in a way that XR, I say XR because XR covers VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and anything else that is in between and developing in the immersive content field. It's really it's a set of technologies that enable you to create all kinds of experiences, and they're all very different. So it's quite difficult, like you said, to understand, you know, what exactly is XR. It's many different things, and I think we're still, like new forms of media, always working on the language of what that means.
Do you have some people who were doubtful to have the XR section in the festival, and are they now persuaded? Understood the meaning, the importance?
I think it's the people who come to Venice are the film industry generally in the past, and they, like you, they're very new to XR. So for us, it's a really important part of the festival is to introduce what that means to them. And so we're always trying to bridge the gap between the film and the mainstream media, press and industry, and what we're doing. So yes, of course, and we're always trying to get people on the boat to come to the island, because we're still an island. And the big thing, and for me, what's very important is the press as well. And so Michelle and I spend a lot of time taking the jury. We have a very big jury for the film festival and the VIPs around, because they're in the film festival, they're the influencers and the critics. But in the online world, it's very different. And that's the challenge for us, is that we have to reach out when we're virtual to completely new audiences, because a film festival is a very elitist event, because very few people can afford to come to Venice. And obviously there's the Venetian population who will come, and we open the section in real life to audiences. But when we went virtual, it's we want to reach out to people who are online already. So yeah, I think for all of us, it's a big work building the festival because it's hard to get people into VR because they don't have headsets. So at the festival, you have that opportunity in real life of guiding them through as curators.
Yeah, and you had a physical part of the festival last year. And what kind of idea did you have to let people who came to the watching conventional film to let them go to the other islands to experience XR?
Well, last year we didn't have a physical VR section, but we had a physical film festival. So that was quite a challenge because everything was online. And that was one of the reasons we did the satellite venues as well. So at least there was some in real life in places around the world where people couldn't access online.
Thank you very much, Liz. It was a wonderful presentation. I really want to try next year. I don't know why I didn't do this last year. Okay. Now it's your turn, Grace. Can you please start your presentation and let us know about your festival and VR section, please?
Sure. Yes. Of course. Before my started, I just want to apologize today. Identity is off a bit today, so I tried very hard to keep up. So apology if I am while. I will try my best. Yeah. So thank you so much for having us today and for your question. My personally also come from a film in traditional film backgrounds. I'm a film producer. Also my traditional film organization as well. So yeah, for me myself, it's a wonderful journey to VR area. So that's I can't wait to share our experience with you. A non-profit film organization based in the capital city in the south part of Taiwan, Kaohsiung. And Kaohsiung is weather, warm people, very passionate people. It's quite have a different city vibe with Taipei, the capital. I would say like our festival also build up a character with very passionate and very welcoming to all the different kind of yeah, we are the film promotion organization, so motion films, and we also host our biggest event, annual event festival. Usually we will showcase 200 films before, and now we are trying to VR. And so for like many festival, they have their area. And for Kaohsiung, we are really focused incubation for the young creators because we noticed a lot from a very long time ago. Is the creators we need to take care. So we host one of the biggest short film competition in Taiwan. International short film competition in our festival, and we also do have the funding support creators to produce their content. We have the own fundings and also start our funding to support creator to do VR from 2017. Start VR because when we noticed that in the film industry, everyone is talking about can VR film, and also inspired by Venice and lots of world leading festival. They are starting already. So it's kind of like we actually we don't know what will happen, but we just want to try. So that year we start the VR program. And for the first festival right now, we growing very fast. Honestly, like 2017, we started the VR program. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival right now, we growing very fast. For the first festival the event annually in October, January. We were taking like around 40 days for the festival, and for the festival, we showcase on 200 films, including features, short film, and also now we have a XR program. The program I curate, and so for the XR program, it's kind of the audience and industry mix events, because we are only show content, we are also hosting like industry events and talks and foreign also markets. We annually international guests, including Loren and Liz, to our event. So we really want to create a that creators can communicate with each others. And for our programs, they we have three major different programs. One program is called Kaohsiung Film Lab Originals. Is the program we support Taiwan artists to we will give them funding and give them advice for them to create the VR piece. So they will do their premiere in our festival. So in 2020, we have three works showcased in the festival, and we still is on. So we also showcase two WIP contents in the festival. And another big for is VR competition. It has 19 contents, including 10 and 9 interactive piece. This is second would say mostly contain lots of the leading grade of this section. And for the XR panorama program is I would say it's a non-competition area. I can do whatever I want to focus on the topic. And so usually we will invite international program to our festival, but as you guys know, because the pandemic, the international artists, they cannot come to Taiwan this year. So we decided to change the focus to Taiwan. And also another section is called Asian New Wave. That these programs, I wanted to keep it as well for a long time since we started the program, because I think for now, for us, it's really important to have our own voice, like Asian voice. So every year we will continue showcase Asian content, XR content in our programs. So for our programs, we usually will showcase in two venues. VR Film Lab is our own venue. We own this venue, and we besides the festivals, we will still showcase the content to the audience. And another venue is called P3 Warehouse. Because when we showcase the content, we need to have more large space to showcase interactive piece or in installation piece. So it's a temporary exhibition place. We will do all the decoration for the festivals. And for this year's, first time we have extend venues. We work with local company called Borgen. They are a very famous flying theater manufacturing company. Their work usually sell to the theme parks, and now they are trying to do the motion platform for VR. And so this year we work with them. We use their own venues. So it's very cool. Like we can use their own space, and also like audience can use by the chance for the festival. They can lead audience to venues, so they can also increase the promotion for their own venues. This is the first time we tried collaborate with local venues, but it went very well. And for the contents, like just these mentions, we are also very we are paying attention to. We want to showcase diversity content for the VR, because when we talk about the VR or XR, we notice that it's not only a one platform. We notice that technology, they can use different ways to tell the story. So we showcase different kind of works only if they can tell a good story. And from our experience, actually, I think the audience really enjoy this kind of the experience, because when they never tried before, but when they try it, they feel it's a new way or new feelings that they can embrace the arts. So yeah, so we try to reach a wide range of the different platform for showcase the contents. So I just mentioned, for last year, my focus was Japan. It's very interesting because I'm very curious about other country in Asia like Korea and Japan. What are they trying to reach, develop the XR? And last year, actually, Ghost in the Shell was doing world premiere in Venice Festival, but they showcase 360 version. And after, when I come back in Taiwan, we went to Belgium. They developed a new platform. It's a picture in a slides. Yeah, they create a platform called Curator. So it allows 12 people, they can try the experience at one time, and people with the motion platform, they can try this VR content with different feelings and have really great positive feedbacks from the audience. And another one, Last Dance, is from we know it very well from Contentia. So when I know they are trying to do VR, I get very exciting to know they have an interest in VR. I believe they are doing more and more in VR. So we are also trying this content. We are showcasing this content to Taiwan audience as well, because Taiwan audience is knowing very well with Contentia as well. Yeah. So another new trying, because when we promotion or we want to try VRs, we are not only see VR content, so we also reach as many as a new audience. So this year we collaborate with Taiwan group. They have like an immersive theater experience. It's like a Great Gatsby, but they're doing the Taiwan version of it, and they are really get very great feedback and very successfully in Taiwan. So we collaborate with them, and they're doing exclusive contents for our festivals. For the total tickets, is around 1,000 tickets during the festival for their show, but it's also out during the festival. So it's really cool that we can learn that the audience, they are trying to experience new things, because but at the beginning when we release this content, they don't know why we showcase this, but after they try the experience, they really enjoy it. So at the moment, that's my happiness time, that I push them try new things. So yeah, that's the basic things we happened in the past few years for us. So yeah, very exciting to share if you have more questions.
Thank you very much, Grace. Thank you. I really need to experience this great tipsy next stop, because I don't think I have understood the content, but it's a immersive theater, non-VR, meaning, so, but you are one of the performers, or you say 1 train, 4 performers, 4 cocktails, 6 participants, and if you participate in that thing, you are one of the 6 participants, right? And you will experience, you will let to a story.
Yeah, actually, it's like a theater play, but the audience itself is like a character, and they decide like every character, they have different run. but they redecide this one is called the trend, so they have a different runs. So when you take in these trends, you will step in the different runs, and you will meet the characters. So the character will have their own different stories. So I think the mystery of this kind of experience is like, because every audience will get different experience depending the character, the actors, and also by your companies. So everyone, lots of audience, they will come back and try and come again to see if they can get the different experience. Yes, I think that's an interesting part for the interactive experience right now. So I think it's the major and also very popular way to tell the story right now. It's a new way, and audience, they will not only sit in a chair to watch the show, they can experience the show by itself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess it's a very total new experience, and let me
So they're really smart, like they use a cocktail.
Yeah.
Once you get in a room, you have one shot, and most of our audience after 4 shots in the last rooms, because they also set up some thing and stories that you will make you cry. So lots of audience cry and have lots of emotion after they try the experience. Yeah.
Wow, it's kind of being in a
No,
game,
but
or also living in a cinema. And you told me that when you started the section in 2017, you weren't really sure what was gonna happen. But what kind of change did you experience yourself? You said that you were a conventional movie fan, and then you enter into the XR section. And what has changed in you regarding XR VR?
Yeah. I think for most of us stepping the VR industry, like we all know what we all not knowing what will happen in the future. We just try. But I think the thing is that when we start the VR section since first years, the very positive feedbacks from the audience, that's for sure. So that's convinced us that we need to going on. In fact, that I think because from the traditional cinema, actually, because nowadays the audience behavior, like they are not really going to the cinema. So I think the festival actually itself, it face a time they need to transform and update itself to continue can talk to the audience and young generations. So yeah, so for the first we start the sections, the audience feedback is really great, and almost in 2020 last year, our box office and is almost the same with traditional cinema. So it's quite a huge thing for us. Yeah, and also when we try to support one artist to create a VR piece, they really feel that there's a new way they can tell the story, and the VR and the XR give us a new possibility that no media can give them before to tell the story. So I think that's two main reasons we want to continuing.
Thank you very much, Grace. It was a very exciting presentation. Thank you. So I'll get back to you later with more questions. And Loren, it's your turn. Hi.
Hey.
Yes. Could I ask you to start your presentation, please?
Sure, of course. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a few minutes to give you a little background on Tribeca so we can all talk together. Again, yes, my name is Loren Hammonds. I'm Vice President of Immersive Programming and Senior Programmer of Feature Film and Immersive at Tribeca Film Festival in New York City. And I'm really just excited to be here today to talk about our festival and the future of immersive storytelling. I think it's probably most effective to look back. Sorry, I just want to make sure because it doesn't seem that this is changing. Did the slide change at all for you? There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think it's most effective to look back at our origins, just to explain kind of how we've gotten to the current shape of Tribeca, and just to understand that Tribeca Film Festival was founded in 2001 as a direct response to the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City. And our founders, Jane Rosenthal and Robert De Niro, they had already been operating a really successful arts organization and a film center in Tribeca. And, you know, at the time, in the wake of that terrible day, they decided to organize an event that would really bring joy back to our city. And they recognized the fact that art has a very unique ability to heal the spirit. So that's how the festival was born. Now, in the years since, we've really evolved to become much more than just a film festival. We've let storytelling dictate everything that we expand into. So storytelling really is the backbone of every decision that we make at Tribeca. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Great storytellers are not always bound by a particular medium. So recognizing that, we continually expand to include new elements of the festival that reflect that. And of course, Immersive is my baby. That's something that I'm very excited that we continue to expand with. In 2013, we showcased our first section of interactive storytelling, which is known as Storyscapes. And the very next year, we included, so that year in 2013, we actually had no VR. They were all different types of interactive and immersive pieces. But the very next year in 2014, we included our first official selection of VR, which was made by the woman that you see on screen right here, Nani de la Peña, who is a pioneer in the field and often called, I'm sorry, Nani, but it's true, everybody calls you the godmother of VR. And she's an Edinburgh Fellow, immersive journalist, and she had created a really brilliant piece called Use of Force, where she used the actual audio of a confrontation at the US-Mexico border to reconstruct the events within a game engine and put you directly in the shoes of a bystander at the scene. And this was presented on a homemade headset, you could see right there, that was built by her and her team. And there was no commercial hardware at the time. Realize this is only in 2014, so it's been a very short period of time that things have evolved. This was also the only VR project that was included in the festival that year. But I want to talk about that because I like to contrast it with our most recent in-person festival, where we showcased 32 VR projects, and some included live actors and motion captured performers, incorporating volumetric filmmaking, and so many different types of techniques that have evolved throughout the medium of VR. And this doesn't even mention the various kind of mixed reality and augmented reality and AI powered stories that really expand into what Liz had said before as XR. I think that's the best way to say it, because it's a catch-all for all of these different mediums that are used to really intersect storytelling and technology. So just in these what seems like short years, right? At Tribeca, we've evolved to become one of the leading showcases of immersive work in the world. And I think that a lot of our success really has more to do with the consumer experience. Of course, I like the curation as well, but I think the consumer experience is very important. We are dedicated to providing a good experience for industry and those people who are just culturally curious and have never tried VR before. And then audiences really do have the opportunity to experience amazing transformative work at VR festivals across the world. But it's often really difficult, as Liz and Grace have touched on, and I think every curator can agree, it's difficult to arrange for an effective throughput in major exhibitions and make sure that a lot of people can actually see the pieces, just because of it's an inherent challenge. As we started showcasing VR all those years ago, we wondered really quickly kind of what can the rest of the audience do while they're waiting to have these experiences. And the natural solution was to create an entirely immersive space for our exhibition. And that's the idea, is so that all of the audiences just become totally immersed as soon as they enter what we call our virtual arcade. So we give the artists an opportunity to create these spaces that have hints of storytelling, or in some cases, even in-depth storytelling before you even put a headset on. So once we kind of hit upon that idea and really leaned into it, the creators more than rose to the occasion. I mean, you can see some examples of installations here. You know, we suddenly had theatrical set designers, decompression rooms, and more added to our space, and it really took off, I think, for everyone involved, especially the audience. And we just take the responsibility of showcasing the medium very seriously. If you deliver a bad or a mediocre experience to someone trying VR for the first time, it's not just your festival that has sunk, it's the medium. It's incredibly hard to get someone to give VR a second shot if their first experience is a terrible one. Yeah, and so usually the festival is in April. Last year, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we had to cancel the festival, but we were able to pivot and create a virtual experience with an organization called the Museum of Other Realities, and we worked with CanXR and had a joint exhibition there. And this year we are going to have physical exhibitions back, but we're also going to keep our virtual platform and be able to showcase work, to audiences across the globe, while still welcoming those who can travel, and of course, New Yorkers who will always support something new and interesting and exciting to come and experience the physical installations, as well as some cool outdoor XR surprises that we'll have as well. So our new dates are June 9th to June 20th. You can go to tribecafilm.com to find out more about that. But we are really in a brave new world of exhibition these days, with virtual platforms just becoming increasingly necessary due to the pandemic and the fact that we are spread apart. And I think we will all just keep innovating to bring this great work to audiences. We at Tribeca, we definitely strive for new ways to showcase groundbreaking work from XR creators across the globe. So as the world continues to change and the medium continues to evolve, we'll do our best to evolve with it. So those are my words on Tribeca, and I'll be really glad to talk to everyone about immersive storytelling as a whole. Thank you,
Yoshi. Very much. Thank you very much, Loren. This was very, very, very interesting. I was very excited to know that the set design is important. Even before you put the device, you're already in the beginning of the story.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, no, it's really interesting because I think it sets an atmosphere that is very, very it's kind of unbreakable, right? I think of virtual reality and XR just as these mediums that allow you to do things that are impossible, right? The best work the best work in XR can only be created in XR, and it can't necessarily be done in a flat screen. And I think that the scenography and the set design really just enhances that in a major way. And I've seen creators do such innovative things with incorporating sets that actually exactly mimic the virtual environment. And I've also seen creators do things that are very surprising, where you're expecting one thing when you get into their installation, but the headset reveals more of the story. So it's really interesting how it can be incorporated.
Wow. Let me ask you the question I already asked to Liz. It was very interesting at the beginning of the presentation. You told us that the storytelling matters, and no matter what the media, the most important thing is the storytelling. And so, do you think that the argument about whether XR is part of film or cinema, or is it not? This argument doesn't really make sense to you, or what?
No, no, it doesn't. And because, you know, my background is in film, and I'm still a feature film programmer with Tribeca. And I think it's so important for everyone to understand that this is not meant to replace film or be the next evolution of film. This is a medium unto itself, and you have to think of it in that way to really understand it and embrace it. I think a lot of people were thinking, well, I remember so clearly when we started showcasing it, a lot of people were likening VR to 3D movies, and I'm like, no, it's not that at all. You know, it's the creator really has an opportunity to give the audience agency within a VR experience, and you can also, I mean, even in 360 cinema, right, which is the closest thing to traditional cinema that would fit in the XR or VR world. There is an agency. You become the director yourself. Obviously, the director creates cues of audio and visual cues to direct your attention, but you really have the ability to make that story your own.
Is it still important that VR or XR section is in film festival?
I mean, for Tribeca, it's a bit different because, as I said, like we're showcasing so many different types of stories. While it started as a film festival, and that's still, you know, obviously a very important part of the festival, I think we really do like to think of ourselves more as a storytelling festival. Even this year, we're introducing audio storytelling and podcasts as a function, you know, as an official section, and games as well. Games are really, you know, games are predate VR in terms of technology and long form storytelling. So I think, yeah, I think it works in the context of film. Like when we go to Venice or Kaohsiung, there are amazing feature films, short films that are being showcased. But I think that it's really exciting to get some of those folks who are interested and maybe haven't seen VR yet to check out this new medium and understand new ways of telling stories.
What do you think, Liz and Grace? You were smiling when I asked this question. Can I hear your opinion about this?
So the question being, you know, is it?
Do you still need to be part of a film festival, or this time has already passed and you can be independent and not rely on film festival?
I think there are many different types of festival. You know, there are festivals that just show XR, and there are festivals that are theatre festivals showing XR. There are arts institutions and events. So this is something very interesting about this medium that is a very, very wide medium, is that it's an intersection between so many different disciplines. So going back to the film festival idea, I think it's useful for, you know, something like Venice is a very big brand, and it's very, I think film festivals are good places where work can be launched, and there's press and there's acclaim around it and there are critics. And I think it can be very useful for makers to launch their projects at a festival. And so I think the brand of the festival is super important. And I think the other thing that I'm finding very interesting this year, if you look at the Sundance Film Festival that just happened, and South by Southwest that's about to happen, is the virtual spaces are becoming way more important for film festivals because they're forced into it because of the pandemic. And it's changing the model of these festivals and pushing them forward in a way. And I think that's really exciting. So, for example, in Sundance, Shari, who's the programmer of New Frontier section, she built a virtual world, but it was incorporated into the whole of the festival. And so the work that she's doing suddenly became quite sort of centerpiece, because the film festival had to be 100% virtual. So they're incorporating some of our ideas and models into the film festival. And the same with South by Southwest. Blake is, who's the programmer for the virtual cinema section, has, they are creating a VR chat world. They're using the same platform as us in the same company room. And it's going to be the music, interaction, and film festival are all using a virtual space to show their festival. So it's sort of, one thing is that, yeah, brands of the film festival, any event that has a big amount of marketing and press around it is very good for makers. But it's interesting to see how they're changing themselves. The festivals are changing, by the pandemic, but I think it will forever change the way we're going to experience art. But I just want to underline, something that both, Grace and Loren have said, this is an intersection of many different art forms and other sectors coming in. And I think that's what I'm particularly excited. I've always loved, I come from film as well. And I was a film producer. I was involved in finance and distribution of films as well. And I got so excited about using these new tools to adapt and move forward art forms, to, bring them to new audiences in new ways, and also to be relevant to our culture and our society and the tools that we're using. So what I love in, using these tools is I'm seeing incredible things like healthcare and neuroscience and psychology, and storytellers and artists working with these disciplines because they have to, because we're working in an experiential form where you have to bring these disciplines together, and it's so exciting seeing how that morphs.
Thank you, Liz. Grace, I'd like to ask you that you told us in your presentation that the audience get very, the number of audience increasing, and the satisfaction of the audience is increasing. And meanwhile, in Japan, I think the average age of movie fan to the people who goes to the movies is quite aging. I mean, I think its average is over 40 or 50 maybe. And I guess the audience the potential audience who could be excited in XR are more younger people. And can you let us know how is the situation in Taiwan in your festival? And if you please tell us if you have interaction between, for example, are the movie fans, are the authentic conventional movie fans attend the VR XR section, or how do you see that?
Well, the questions about is VR should be in a festival is definitely a good question. Is we don't have to answer. Like it's still a very arguments, but I totally agree, Liz and Loren, that I feel like, because right now I mean, like, although we already involved in XR in many years, but in fact that we still need lots of people. I should say there is still lots of people they haven't tried VR. So for our experience right now, because XR is very new for them, so you need to give them something they can relate to. So from our experience, like all the story or all the thing they already know, like the IP or something they already know, like ayahuasca is a interactive experience showcased during the festival and also in our venue. It's selling very well because they already know this kind of the contents. So so the audience, when they know this kind of the work, they are more willing to try. So from our experience, for now, for us, definitely we feel really exciting about how this new media can do, but we still, I think all of our intentions to grab more people's attention to get into this field. So so we are really trying to reach the audience, and from our experience, you really need to give something they already know. for example, the story, also maybe the director. So that's why we inviting so many well-known Taiwanese director. They trying to create VR productions. So the people already know the director, and when they know they are trying the VR or XR content, people were willing to try it.
Thank you. What I want to know next is that we had a big boom in 3D movies, maybe from 10 years ago, but the 3D films are not made as much as they were made before. But now 3D movies are now evolved to XR films, XR art, and now it's a new form of evolution. And do you think that XR, VR is already being recognized as a form of art, and it will last, this trend will last? And how do you see the future of XR? This is a question for all of you.
It's a big one, right?
Yes, it is a big one. It is a big one.
Yeah.
In terms of, I'll start just with what you said, Yoshi, about VR being recognized. Like I think that it is being recognized as art in many different ways. I think, you know, our festivals all highlight storytelling, but also experiential work and fine art. I think that you'll see that VR is actually having a pretty great surge in the realm of fine art, and artists, you know, working in this new medium to express themselves in a different way. I think that, you know, you've seen things like at the Whitney Biennial, like you'll have a piece of VR standing next to a traditional, you know, acrylic on canvas. So I think that's always interesting. With the 3D movie analogy, I think, you know, there's, until we get the new avatars, we won't have any exciting 3D films, I don't think, right? I think that with XR and with VR in particular, it's very exciting to be recognized in a more mainstream way. And what we're seeing is more adoption of headsets at home. And that to me is the most exciting thing, you know, the particularly with a headset like the Oculus Quest 2, which is affordable, lightweight. It doesn't require all these peripherals and computers. So it's a lot easier for someone to jump in and discover new work. There are obviously limitations on that headset, but I think it's a great start to allow people to just to be exposed to VR.
How about you, Lee?
Sorry, I should know this by now about unmuting. It's ridiculous. So going back to the, you know, your comment about 3D cinema. 3D cinema, I don't think it can be compared to XR. It's a form still within a screen. So it's effectively an augmentation of cinema. And I think that I don't think you can make a comparison. What I think is very interesting is seeing how there are the tools that build XR, like the games engines, are being used in flat screen filmmaking now, and it's super important because of the pandemic. So the tools of virtual production are being used, and it's actually showing the film and television world how you can use XR tools. So you can use XR tools to visualize and previs what scenes are going to be like. So you can actually build your whole set and everything of your film and start taking camera angles and build inside. And I think that's getting people in the traditional industry thinking, wow, I'm in a virtual space when they're planning the film and now when they're shooting the film. And that will, I think, be very interesting to see where we go from there, because I think the adoption of games engines and techniques of virtual production are going to start making people in the traditional cinema world adopt you know, new ways of experiencing projects in 6 degrees of freedom or in virtual world spaces. So I don't think you can compare the two.
Yeah.
But yes, And thinking about the future, I mean, things move so fast. Like, you know, Loren was showing that picture of Noni de la Peña back in 2013 before Oculus launched the Oculus Rift, and you just think how much has changed. So I always find, I've worked in this area of innovation with media formats and storytelling for a long while, and people are always asking us, the people who work in the space, but nobody's going to see it. There's no business model. There's nothing. What's happening? And we're only, you know, 6 years in to something, and it's moving so fast. So what I've seen move this year is, because of the pandemic, it's made people adopt tools that they would never adopt. And that's kind of obviously awful for people who are depending on venue-based work, and us as festivals, it makes it complicated, but we're finding solutions. But it's making the community very, you know, very adaptive and very innovative. So I'm super excited. And also we're starting to see platforms emerge like, you know, WebXR, which are going to make work more accessible to people who can't own really expensive headsets. So it's a browser-based way of viewing, not an app. So things like that are exciting, and it's moving fast. But the thing I'm particularly excited about at the moment is the metaverse. So the idea of world building. Yeah, and it's kind of funny for me because I live alone, but I'm spending loads of time in platforms like VR Chat, world hopping and playing games with other people around the world. I spent 4 hours last Saturday in a game with Kent Bai, and who's a very well-known writer and podcaster around VR, and some other friends and makers. And it's amazing, and it inspires me going into these worlds that makers are creating, that are kind of story worlds. They're worlds with games and quests and spaces you can sit and rest, and then bits that you can watch something that's maybe, it could be a flat screen piece of work, or incorporating media into it.
Wow, it's a total new world. Grace, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's a good question too. Yeah, I actually understand your question is because lots of people discuss about, because VR has been appeared last year ago, and will this time will come true. Well, from my point of view, I would say it's definitely, you can only see by the trend from the technology, how they develop the advice, and how our audience, our people, work behavior they use with technology, they work with phone. Anything you can feel is really like very soon will come true. Like I believe is because I just recently read a book. They are discussing about the world economic, and they say they believe like we are facing a time from third world industrial revolution to the fourth world industrial revolution, and from the third time we are from manufacturing to factory. But now we are facing a time to factory to the AI or all the technology part. So from this point of view, I would say definitely, and maybe the pandemic is the thing that speed up everything, because we usually discuss a lot like luckily we have pandemic in this year, because without internet, without all the technology we have, situation will be getting worse than now. So yeah, I would say, yeah. So I would say also from my point of view, I would say in the future, I think there will be a diverse way for creators to create their creations. So I would say it's definitely a best time for them, because all the different formats and platforms giving them a different opportunity. So also, I think for the people they haven't tried VR or they haven't convinced for VR, everyone you need one piece and one content that you convince this medium. I maybe Liz and Loren, they definitely have one. Mine is Dear Angelica. It's a very
Okay.
beautiful, yeah, it's a narration story, beautiful, very beautiful piece. And this work, for the one they haven't tried this before, I definitely recommend you try it. And this work make me believe when I be a creator, my space for creation can be 360. I'm not only create the square in a square. So it's very exciting time actually.
Thank you very much, Grace. I will follow your advice. And now we have some questions from our viewers, our audience, and please, our dear audience, you can use the Q&A function in your Zoom. And so if you have questions, please write either in Japanese or in English. And I have already some questions. I will read the question in Japanese. So now it's time to try the English translation. 匿名の方です。映画祭で VR 作品を扱うにあたって課題はどんなところにあるとお考えでしょうか。まあちょっとこの今のディスカッションの中で若干話したことではありますが、どなたかお答えいただけますでしょうか。じゃあ OK、 じゃあリズさんお願いします。Liz, please.
Hi, hello anonymous. So I think it starts from the selection process. I think all of us know we're getting projects that are all kinds of formats that are works in progress, and it's really complicated because you get what's called exe files for the projects that are going to be on PC VR, and it's really hard. And then you get things that are on for the Oculus Quest, and it's all different formats. So we're dealing with a lot of files of things that are also built in games engines that are quite buggy. So it's quite difficult. And then we've got things that are installations and have actors. And we have to have a lot of imagination a lot of the time to envisage something that's going to be finished. But you're also dealing with things that are totally new. So there are new forms that you've never seen. So it's not having a standardized format is one of the issues. And then planning your exhibition is difficult because again, it's not standardized, and you're working with loads of different technologies and headsets, and you're building installations. So it's like building mini theatre sets and exhibitions for some projects. And then when it comes to the actual audience experience, it's really tricky because, as Loren mentioned, throughput is a real issue and the experience is a real issue. Both Grace, Loren and me have mentioned in our presentations, what's really important for us is that the audience has a really good experience, because it can be going into a virtual reality world is quite extreme. And a lot of people haven't really thought when they're exhibiting VR about what it's like we use the word onboarding and offboarding to go into that world and designing a space that works for the particular experience, but also the conditions of not having noise. So loads of people speaking, that you're not queuing for ages, that you have ticketing systems, and every work is different. So in Venice, when we did our ticketing system, we got some experiences that for one person and some that are for 50. So there's loads of things that are difficult for the festival to manage. But the technical side is quite complex, from selection to exhibition and ticketing.
Totally agree. Very difficult from the beginning to the end, even to the press.
No, yes, I definitely agree too. I think the idea, what Liz was just talking about with throughput, at a traditional film festival, you have a set time that you go and sit, and everyone loads into a theater and sits down and watches a film all at the same time. At XR festivals, you have to deal with so many different variables besides just the different technology, the different number of users that each piece can accommodate. How long is each piece? How many pieces will people have an opportunity to see in a set in a given amount of time? All of these different moving parts just really create a challenge for curators, exhibitors, and producers to to create, you know, something that actually works well for everyone. And I think we all learn from each other for sure, and we all have different ways of doing it. So it's really quite remarkable when you go to different festivals and you always and you see how they manage their individual audiences, because no one is exactly the same. It's really it's really quite interesting.
As a myself as a staff of a film festival, related to your answers, I imagine that it's really difficult to predict the budget.
This is true.
If you have so many uncertainties, wow, it's a nightmare to build a budget.
Well, that becomes part of the curation process, which is also very different than curating feature films. When you know that you have an installation that's going to cost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to produce, versus inviting a filmmaker to come and say, yeah, please showcase your film, we'll play it.
So as a curator, you get involved in all kinds of partnership arrangements as well. We are all way more than curators. We kind of design and produce and do partnerships, and and it's bespoke for so many different projects.
Yes, thank you. I have another question from, again, anonymous person. 匿名の方からです。VR は新しいアートフォームだというお話がありましたが、皆さんの映画祭ではこの新しいアートフォームを何と呼んでいるのでしょうか。日本では VR 映画（VR フィルム）と呼ばれてますが、もはや映画ではなく新しい言葉で呼ぶべきだと思いますかが質問ですが、どうでしょう。Anyone?
The age-old question, right? I think even those of us who have worked in this medium for a long time are still asking, what do we call this? I remember a few years ago we had a meeting at IDFA in Amsterdam, and that was Casper's entire thesis was, what are we calling this now? And I have landed, as maybe Liz has too, on XR, and Grace on XR, right? XR Dreamland, right, Grace? Because that is a catch-all for everything. I think when you look at VR, virtual reality is more accurate than calling it VR film, I think, because a lot of the pieces have nothing to do with film and don't even draw on traditional cinema. They would draw more on games because they're created in engine. But XR works for me for now.
But it's such a shame it's not a more poetic sounding word, and it sounds very technical, and that's what's the problem. We still are called Venice VR. We were thinking of Venice Immersive, but because I'm going to tell a very bad joke, but because Venice has issues with flooding, it wasn't such a great title.
That makes sense.
Yes, and also, so it's really difficult, and we didn't want to go, even though it should be XR. It's a very good question, Loren. We're always debating this about what it should be, and I think because it's been known as Venice VR, even though we're showing more than VR, we haven't changed yet. I think it's the XR term. We just
we call it Tribeca Immersive because it is also a way of kind of embracing all of these different things. But I think when referring to all of them with friends and colleagues, I usually say XR. I don't know.
では XR に各地の名前をつけるというのが一つの正解でしょうか。So, we have a question from Carlotta. A question for Loren. Installation space around the VR seat is important. True. What can you do to fill in the gap when the festival is virtually online? Audience isn't in the physical space of the festival, so how can you give them a context around the XR piece?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. You know, last year when we pivoted to a virtual exhibition, that was one of our main questions, because we felt that it was so important to create those installations. And what we were able to do was actually create virtual installations. So it's a very meta way of looking at things, but when you're in the headset and you are in your virtual environment, we actually gave our creators the opportunity to build their own installation in the virtual world. So many of them used assets from their actual experience and built these beautiful, gorgeous installations. I mean, we featured a piece called The Book of Distance last year, and the installation that they built was so remarkable. It felt as if you were walking into a physical festival, seeing some items, seeing some photographs on the wall, being able to read some bits of an essay before you get into the actual experience. And I think that is the answer now. There are other ways though. I mean, I think everything that Liz said about the metaverse is really just crucial, right? I think that we've seen the importance of the metaverse for festivals, but also just for social experiences, right? And everyone is missing that feeling of being next to each other, and that's part of the energy that comes out of a festival as well. So being able to create these shared environments is the first step for allowing a context for these pieces to live in.
Thank you very much, Loren. I think we are running out of time. It's a pity, but finally, can I have your final comment from each of you about, maybe you have already mentioned, but please mention again your vision of VR section in your festival as your final comment. Liz, can you start from you, please?
So I think for Venice, we always want to show mostly world premieres of work. We have to also to be in line with the A-list film festival. So we do show some international premieres, but what we always want to do is be pushing the boundaries of what work is and be able to find ways that we can show everything. And that's quite complicated because it means you have to always adapt the technology and the whole production. And we're incredibly excited about embracing all of that. For us, we're going to expand, the idea of creating the metaverse is really important for us, but the idea of the social and the fantastical element of what VR is something both me and Michelle are bound to. So whether it's in real life that we manage to do an in real life part of Venice, we want to bring that element of, we really hope, we love in real life experiential work. That's just as important as how you translate that or you create something new in the virtual world. So the fantasy of VR is really important. And I think that's something that's fantastic about this medium, that you can do things that you can't, Loren mentioned, that you can't do in the real world, or it can make you be somebody or consider something. And this is something very important in the real world in a different way. And I just want to underline, I've always been interested in new mediums and technology to help us consider and look at the world in new ways, not to dislocate us from the world, but for us to bring us back to the world. And I think that's a very important thing for storytellers and artists and social commentators to be really clear about. Grace has just mentioned we are moving into this fourth revolution, industrial revolution. And I worry sometimes that we are becoming this idea of transhumanism, that the idea of our own human agency and ethically what technology is doing to us as society. So as festivals, that's very important for us, that it brings us back to the real world as well.
Thank you very much, Liz, for your wonderful comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grace, can I have a final words from you, please?
Well, thank you so much for having us today. I think we all miss each other because it's a very strange year that we can see each other for a long time. But I'm very happy to have first edition. Congratulations for the first edition for your festival in Japan. Like Taiwan, we are really in the culture and society, we are very close. So I was definitely looking forward to have more collaboration or any communication in the future. And also I'm really looking forward to Venice and Tribeca festivals, because we really usually inspire each us a lot. So thank you very much today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace. Thank you. Loren, can I have a final comment from you, please?
Sure. I mean, I'll just say that I'm so encouraged and inspired by all of the work that's being done in the festival space with VR and XR, and also just in the creative community. I'm so inspired by the way that people have embraced the difficulties of this pandemic and learned new ways and created new ways to collaborate. And I'm also really just encouraged by this inaugural edition of Beyond the Frame, because it's important to expose the medium to more audiences and make sure that that we're educating and exposing everyone to the possibilities of VR and XR. I think sometimes there's a bit of trepidation just with technology, and I'd like to just welcome everyone to give it a shot. Right? It's not as intimidating as it might seem, and as Liz said, it can really allow you to experience things in a new and exciting way. And so that's why I'm involved with it, and I think that's why my colleagues Grace and Liz are involved with it as well. And we always when we see each other, it's a great time, and I hope that we're able to do that again, even in the metaverse. But I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. And Yoshi, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for just its time, and thank you so much for your participation, Liz, Grace, and Loren. It was very interesting for me, and I learned a lot. And I think our audience were very excited to listen to your comment. And I think I will discover this new VR XR, Tokyo XR, for myself. And you guys showed me the new world. Thank you so much for your participation, and I hope I can see you again very soon. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
イベントご出演者の皆さん、ありがとうございました。さて、ここからはビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式ナビゲーターの届きうかから改めて映画祭についてお知らせです。日本初の VR 映画に特化した国際映画祭ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルは2月12日金曜日から21日日曜日まで10日間にわたって開催中です。3作品にアワードが授与される本映画祭の審査員は映画監督の園志音さん、作家・画家の大宮エリーさん、ブランドコンサルタントで株式会社スピーディー社長の福田敦さんという豪華なメンバー。さらにアンバサダーにはコムアイさんが就任。僕、映画祭公式ナビゲーターの届きうかもバーチャルの世界で生きる者として VR の様々な表現の発展を応援していきますので、皆様どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。もしよろしければ本日のイベントのご感想や VR 映画を体験いただいたご感想を SNS で投稿いただけたらとっても嬉しいです。その際はハッシュタグ BTFF2021 ハッシュタグ VR 映画でお願いします。また今日のアーカイブ映像は後日映画祭公式 YouTube チャンネルで3ヶ月間配信されますので、そちらもご覧ください。映画祭について詳しく知りたい方はビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式サイトをご覧ください。それでは皆様ご視聴ありがとうございました。バイバーイ。